Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another What We Really Learned from the Past Chelsea Game. And it's probably the best What We Really Learned from the Past Chelsea Game we've ever done on this channel, because it's only just about Chelsea qualifying to a Champions League bloody final. I still can't quite believe that we're in this position right now. It took me ages to fall asleep last night. Still all day, I'm just reading everything about, watching all the interviews, all the videos. It's crazy. It's honestly, guys, I cannot comprehend it. Maybe our very special guest of today will help me comprehend things, because we're joined by a wonderful guest who hasn't been on for a little while. So I'm very glad to welcome him back, Mr. Jay McIntosh, of course, part of the Chelsea Social. The link is down in the description below. First of all, Jay, how are you doing? How are you feeling after that yesterday? And secondly, can you help me, understand all of this?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I don't know if I count as a special guest anymore. I've been on this channel quite a lot.
Of course.
So
I'm
more of like
a special guest, bro.
I'm just sort of lingering around. If needed, I'm there. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's good news, man. Good news. Obviously, being the first club ever to have both the men's and women's team in a Champions League final. Yeah, and do you know, it's really hard to sit there and process that your team just sort of slapped Real Madrid around in a Champions League semi-final. It's almost unheard of to do that. And I refuse to believe that anyone thought that we would do this. The only person I know that said Chelsea would win the Champions League was Frank Khaled. Like, he's the only person I know.
Kept hinting at it for sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah. To be fair, That I said as well, that Dubois thread is sort of, that's better than the blue tick if that comes off. Can you imagine how crazy that would be? That it's crazy. It's crazy.
They should give him a blue tick just for that, I reckon.
100%. So it's nice that we get to, as a fan base, as a club, enjoy these moments. I said on the podcast I just recorded, it's not out yet, that these are moments that as a football fan you never forget in your whole life, and it's quite rare that pure moments of joy happen. So it's beautiful stuff, man. It's good stuff. I'm happy.
It's special, honestly. I will take a little bit of credit. I have said since, I can't remember whether it was after the first leg or before the first leg, but I would also admit not 100% seriously. I was like, oh yeah, we're winning the Champions League and the FA Cup again. Obviously. There's no two questions about it. It's happening, right? And then obviously the more we saw of the Dubois threads, the more I was just talking about it.
Yeah.
But I will say this, when the quarterfinal and semi-final draw in one go happened after we beat Atletico, I said we're going to the final. Neither Madrid nor Liverpool scared me much, in all honesty. Of course, Liverpool sorted themselves out. Real Madrid sorted themselves out between that draw and when we played them. So they became more of a threat in that period. But at the time, I was like, I don't see either of these three teams, obviously Porto and Liverpool or Madrid, really stopping us. But to do it the way we did it yesterday is insane. And the amount of people, especially opposition fans and obviously the English media as well, we're just pragmatic and we're to play this defensive style of football. I'm like, bro, we had 9 clear-cut chances against Real Madrid in 2 games. Are you mad? We should have won 10-1 on aggregate.
Yeah.
If we're being totally serious. And we had a clear penalty not given at the end just because the ref was like, let me just finish the game, which is fine, but still would have made it look even more, better, I suppose, if we won 3-0, right? So, would have given Jorginho a goal as well. You know how much of a fan I would have been of that.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy. Like you said, even those people that said we're going to win the Champions League or whatever, no one would have thought that we would absolutely, batter Real Madrid off the park. And we did that in both legs, especially in the first half last week and especially in the second half yesterday. But also in the first half yesterday, we didn't have any of the ball. I said this a couple of times already. It's like, well, this performance yesterday kind of proves Jose Mourinho right, because if there was ever a proof for that you don't need to have the ball to be the better team, that was yesterday. We had 32% of the ball, and we were so clearly the better team. It's crazy.
Yeah, what I like is that it's the first time I've seen Chelsea be just as comfortable with possession or without it. That's, I think, what makes us so hard to play against at the moment, is that we're just as happy to concede possession and sit back and defend as we are to keep the ball and progressively play through the lines. And most teams aren't like that. Most teams are one way or the other. You look at Leeds, for example, very possession heavy, very attacking. Other teams like Burnley, very defensive. And then they can't really step out of that way, whereas Chelsea are very fluid in the way that...
as well, yeah.
Perfect example, yeah. So it's nice that we're completely fluid, not just in our lineup, in our tactics, and that's what makes Tuchel an excellent manager and Chelsea so hard to play against at the moment, man. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but no one had a bad game last night, and no one's really had a bad game for quite a while, actually.
That is true. Like since the West Brom game, I don't think anyone had a bad game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's the position we're in, and it's difficult for me how to word it really, because while we didn't have any of the ball, it wasn't like we sat back and parked the bus. Like we kept Real Madrid, aside from one or two occasions, we kept them like 25 plus yards away from our goal. They didn't get anywhere near. And the one time we did drop off a little bit, that's when Benzema got that shot away and Mendy had to make that unbelievable save. Because I almost like the second we dropped, and I was literally screaming at my TV, push up, because we're not used to sitting deep. Like back in the day, that's what, won us the Champions League in bloody 2012, doing exactly that. But right now, the team, the players, that's not who we are. So when we dropped deeper and deeper and deeper in those 2-3 minutes, I was like, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then obviously Benzema had that shot. But aside from that, we pressed high, but not crazy high in terms of pressing the goalkeeper all the first half. We did that second half, but not first half. And not pressing the centre-backs much either. Just like once they got, just before the halfway line, I suppose, we started to press them. And then we kept them like 25, 30 yards from our goal. And it was tactically, honestly, an absolute masterclass, as it was last week, as it was against Man City, as it is so often with Tuchel. The only teams he doesn't have tactical masterclasses when they're lesser teams. It's like he's not that bothered, so he doesn't really think about it that much. I don't know. Obviously, it's not true, but it seems that way in a jokey way, right? And I've never run around saying, "Oh, Zidane is the greatest manager of all time." I know he won the Champions League and that, but what Real Madrid are, what they always have been, is like they have a manager who just, because of the guy he is, of how big of a player he was, and how big of a name he is, he manages to keep these guys under control. And then at the end of the day, just lets them do their thing. And for the most part, there's not a crazy structure that is tactically worked out and intricate by the manager. He just lets them do their thing. And that's why they got worse, once Ronaldo left, because letting players do their thing, the better players you have, the better that will work out. Obviously, they still have Benzema, who's playing an unbelievable season, and that's why he's still a threat. But it's less about the manager for Real Madrid than it is about the team. But they have great players. Modric, of course, Casemiro, obviously. Ramos to some extent as well, even though it didn't look that great yesterday, and Benzema, of course, in particular. But for us, it's like, and I said this on Lewis's stream, where I just quickly popped on a half an hour ago, there's teams that are revolved around one player, where they have this main guy that everything goes through, right? We don't really have that. And Liverpool, in their successful two seasons, didn't have that either. It's more about the manager does what he needs to do, make sure that the players do everything that he requires them to do, and as a unit, they are then successful. And I feel like that's kind of what we are as well. Obviously, you have to stand out in Mason Mount, for example. You have to stand out with Christian Pulisic, for example, last week. So it happens every now and again. But in general, I feel like it's more about the manager than it is about any individual player. And if the players buy into that, that works wonders. And I can't remember who said it. Some pundit said it yesterday. I just read the quote on Twitter that at PSG, that was kind of Tuchel's problem. That because you had these crazy big names, they didn't sometimes want to follow the structure that he had worked out and planned out to beat whoever they come up against. At PSG, they didn't all follow that. And Mbappe and Neymar and, even an Icardi, right? And, every now and again, some of their midfielders, they do their thing. But coming to Chelsea, when you have a young team, when you have a hungry team, when you are in a league where we don't really have any team that's just about one player. Obviously, maybe Spurs, but that's why they're well outside the top six.
United, maybe.
True. Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
They're the one team I think of that are over-reliant on one individual. I don't know. There are others, I'm sure, like PSG, for example. When Mbappe's not there, they kind of fall apart.
We think Man United more than Barcelona do a Messi?
I kind of think Messi is a bit of an exception.
Fair
because I believe that whatever team Messi's in, you then become reliant on Messi. So yeah, Barca as well. Obviously, I think that's fair. Bayern, without Lewandowski, they struggle, but they're pretty good without anyway. Whereas United, when Bruno doesn't play, they are bad. They're actually bad. So, and I said, I totally agree. I said before the game, it was a battle between a tactician and a facilitator. Right, Zidane is a facilitator for excellent talent, and what he does, he puts players in the right positions. He allows them to be themselves. He allows them to express themselves. There's no, rigidity to what he tries to do. He just allows them to go there and do their thing. Whereas Tuchel is, everything has to operate within his control and within his system. And that is why I thought we'd win the game, because, you know, Zidane's obviously got 3 Champions Leagues and a league title. But, you know, that's when he's had some of the best players of all time doing their thing. And now he has to be a tactician sometimes, and it doesn't really work. So, yes, it's credit to Tuchel, really, for being a very, very intelligent manager. And let's hope he can go one step further in the FA Cup and one step further in the Champions League final as well, man.
Let's hope so, honestly. And I think Chesto's made a fair point. When Hazard was here, we were very reliant on him. And I think, and that's no criticism of Hazard, but I think that's partly why we never made it any further in the Champions League. Because once you took him out, and the better the opponent gets, the more likely they are to be able to take Hazard out of the game, then we were screwed. Because then we were relying on Willian. And, you know, that's not going to do anything, let's be honest. And I don't think that's not even going to be a crazy dig at Willian, but he doesn't have the ability to carry it all by himself. With the off, you know, chance where he does, especially against Spurs, love doing that, sure. But on average, you know, he couldn't do that. And you don't need to have this one player that you just need to be on form for everything to click. And we were a little bit like that under Frank as well. You know, we had a few games where Ziyech was the guy. Without Ziyech, nothing clicked. We had a few games where Pulisic, last season after restart, without him, nothing clicked. You had it a few times with Mason Mount this season. Nothing clicked without him. And right now, it just seems we have this structure. And whether it's Kante and Jorginho, whether it's Kante and Kovacic, whether it's Jorginho and Kovacic, whether it's, well, maybe not Alonso, but whether it's Aspi at right wing back, whether it's Reece James at right wing back, whether it's Callum Hudson-Odoi at right wing back, whoever the front 3 are, except the finishing, we all know what we're going to do. We all know what the plan is. And we execute it perfectly aside from the finishing. And that's what we're doing. And it's unbelievable, honestly.
No, I agree, man. I agree. I mean, the finishing's mad, isn't it? The finishing's crazy. But, you know, when you watch Kai, for example, you can what you see when you watch Kai is pure potential. You see it. You see, like, utter class right there, but it's just not finely tuned yet. But you know it's going to come. The way he's you know, strong in the tackle, actually so delicate. He stalks around the pitch and so close to, you know, chipping a Real Madrid keeper in a Champions League semi-final. I don't really know. Like, that's so crazy to do. Obviously, Kante, you don't rely on him to finish. Timo got his goal. I'm so happy for him. Obviously, now when Timo scores, I go straight for you. I can't help myself.
I love it. Hey, bring it on.
I expect you to do the same when Jorginho scores the winner in the final. Come for me. So it's all good, man. So, you know, the chances are there. That's better than having no chances at all. And every professional player that's spoken about Chelsea have always said, you know, the chance creation is the hard thing. The finishing isn't. Okay, we're creating chances, lacking on finishing. We'll work on that. We'll be okay. And actually, you know, on form, at current, we're the best team in Europe. So we should hopefully win the Champions League, which would just be wild, right?
It would be absolutely wild. Before we continue any further with this chat, because we have a lot to get through with the entire game, with the lineup, a couple of comments by Christian Pulisic, which a lot of people I already see in the chat talking about. So I appreciate all of you guys that are tuning in, of course, as always. Let me just quickly play the little clip, because, of course, as you might know if you've seen one of the last 2 streams, we are sponsored by OneFootball this month. So big ups to them. And, you know, check out the link in the description and, you know, just listen to me what I tell you in this clip now, basically. I want to say a massive thank you to OneFootball for partnering up with me and sponsoring my channel. Like the name suggests, it's a football app. And trust me, it's one of the best ones out there. You get all the latest football news from pretty much every single team and league all around the world. Team news, live score updates, league tables, fixture lists, everything you could possibly want to know in the world of football, you find it right there. Never want to miss out on any news surrounding Chelsea again? OneFootball has got you covered. As you can see on screen now, all the news is all there in one place. Whether it's the latest injury news, articles before and after games, or of course, transfer rumors. And with the transfer window actually opening and coming up soon, you know, as well, you'll definitely want to make use of that transfer indicator, which not only tells you about all the rumors out there, it also tells you how likely a certain transfer actually is to happen, which is definitely quite handy during a very busy transfer window, which could be on the horizon for Chelsea. And like I said, it's honestly a brilliant app that I can only recommend downloading with the link down in the description below. And downloading the app with my link also really helps out my channel. And I want to say it again, I really appreciate them sponsoring me. And like I just said, it's a brilliant app that everyone should have on their phone. And all it takes is literally a few seconds to click that link down in the description below. Doesn't matter whether you're an iPhone or Android. I download the app right there with that link. So again, go down below into the description and download the OneFootball app with my link right now. Exactly. Like I just told you. And what Arian asked here, when you've got Twitter, well, on Twitter, you need to follow all these different people. You need to have post notifications on for all these journalists. And even then, you're missing half the things. OneFootball's got it all in one place. But no one's telling you can't have OneFootball and Twitter. So, best of both worlds, I suppose. But let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game and let's talk about the lineup. Because the one big surprise was Christian Pulisic not starting, right? Or was there any other big surprise to you, Jay?
To be honest, I wasn't surprised that he didn't start. I wouldn't have started him either.
Okay, interesting.
I wouldn't have started him purely because I thought Ramos would have been taking lumps out of him all game. And
you weren't worried about that with Havertz?
Less so. I think Havertz is he's obviously a stronger player than Pulisic, and Pulisic is just so prone to injury. That was my concern there. Also, there's no one worse when you're 60 minutes into a Champions League final to come on than Christian Pulisic. Like, if you're a defender and you see Christian come on, it's just like really, do you have to deal with this guy for the next half an hour? Because he's been turning everyone inside out. Werner genuinely showed why he started and deserved to start. It's the way that Tuchel is. He's not scrutinizing any player. He's simply unpredictable. And I really can't believe that people are still questioning his lineups now, because they change, they're fluid, but we seem to perform almost every game. So expect it. Pulisic comes on to finish off the game. It's not an issue, in my opinion. It's not an issue. It's a shame for him in the sense that he wants to be starting these games, but he's getting minutes, he's contributing meaningfully, and he's now going to play in a Champions League final when he's definitely going to get time on the pitch. I mean, what more can you want? If you're frustrated, I understand. But tactically, I think it was the right thing to do, to have Werner sprinting at those centre-backs, free up a bit of space for Kai, and then, take Werner off. So he's done his bit, he's got his goal, he's ran defenders around, and then bring Pulisic on, who's going to spin people inside out, and then he got the assist. So it worked out really well. Puli needs to understand that he's so injury prone, and if he were to get injured, it's such a miss for us. Just get him on, get him some minutes, and then he done exactly what he needed to do. And realistically, it's totally acceptable for a player to be annoyed about not starting. I get it, I really do. But if I'm honest, he's a young lad who's just got his team into a Champions League final. He's got a goal and assist against Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final. He deserves to start, but deserving to start is quite different under Tuchel, as in comparison to other managers, because you never really know who's going to start. Mason's going to start, Mendy's going to start, and then maybe a couple of centre-backs, whereas the rest is up for debate, I guess, especially that front three, and it's working. I don't really think it's that deep that he didn't start, and we know that.
I don't think it's that deep either. I was just surprised, because I think his performance against Madrid in the first leg, plus not starting Fulham on the weekend, of course, for me, was pointing in the direction of him starting. And, Tuchel said in post-game that, it was a harsh kind of conversation to have with him. And he knew full well that it was harsh. And Pulisic, and what a lot of people have been speaking about in the chat already here, is that Pulisic gave an interview post-game, I think it was to ESPN, where, first of all, he was hyped about the game and everything was brilliant. And then the interviewer asked him, well, were you frustrated, or how frustrated were you, at not starting, but then you come on and change the game the way you did, provide the decisive assist and stuff. And, he gave not the typical PR response. The PR response would be, no, I'm happy to help the team out whichever way I can. And I managed to do that today, and everything's great. And we're in the Champions League final, and you saw how hyped they all were. But what he did say is, I was extremely frustrated, and I have to keep proving myself over and over and over again. And, I just, basically believe in God, and that will help me.
Mate, it's just, what I mean? You're at he's at one of the best clubs in world football. I don't you know that there's going to be competition for places permanently. You have continually been injured. You are being rested so you're fit for these minutes and you come on, you make an impact. I don't think that he actually has to prove himself too much. Tuchel is fully aware of his ability. The fans are as well. Everyone knows how good he is. It's actually just making sure that he doesn't pick up another knock. I know people in the comments, I've seen it saying, well, he can't be a squad player. He's either in or out. Oh, it's not good to be worried about injuries. But actually, look at Kingsley Coman at Bayern Munich, right? Injured, plagued by injuries in his early 20s. And then he gets managed intelligently and is now fit regularly. The exact same thing needs to happen with Pulisic, and he's going to get minutes in the FA Cup final. He's going to get minutes in the Champions League final. He's played in both Champions League semi-finals. I think he's fine. It's frustrating in terms of an elite athlete performance, but a lot of players in this team are now squad players, and that's the beauty of it. We are a squad again. We're not a team of a few individuals, and we work as a cohesive unit, and people jump in and out and do the job. I like it personally.
I 100% agree. And while I agree that it was maybe a bit harsh not to start him, you could see that it worked perfectly. And yes, some people will say, if Pulisic started, we would have, sealed the game quicker. You don't know that. That's complete, hypothetically
speaking. Conjecture, isn't it? It's conjecture. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't know that. I mean, there is a good chance you are correct, but we will never find out whether you were or not. There's zero chance. What we do know, though, is that with the players that we did start, we were brilliant. And while I totally respect and understand that he is frustrated at it, I totally get it. And to be honest, I would almost want my top players to feel frustrated if they don't start. But I also am not the biggest fan of him having to say that in a TV interview after we qualify for the Champions League final. There's no need to put any sort of negative spin on anything, especially like if he came on and we was already 2-3-0 up and he had no impact. I get it. But he came on and literally helped decide the game for us. So it's not like you weren't really involved because he didn't start. Hence why I was very surprised. See, if he come on after 80 minutes, we're already 2-3-0 up. I totally understand. But the way he did come on, with how crucial he was to the game, I don't think that was a position where you needed to put a negative spin on it. But at the same time, I don't want to be harsh on players. I don't want to put a negative spin on things myself either, because maybe he thought the second after he said it, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You never know. Maybe he knows that to himself. And, I'm not going to sit here and scrutinize Christian Pulisic. I would just wish that in future he would be more careful with his words, because that wasn't necessary. Not that it's the worst thing in the world, but he didn't need to say that. Do you get what I mean, Jay?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I'm looking at ESPN's Twitter right now, and they've literally tweeted a quote out with it an hour ago, and it's just that ESPN or whatever, they've got to do what they've got to do, right, and ask those stupid questions. You'd hope from a perhaps more mature player, just in terms of age and experience, that Pulisic would have just deflected it back on. He is mature, though.
Like, he's US national team captain. He's played Champions League football at the age of 17. Like, that's 5 years ago now. Yeah,
but he's also younger than me and younger than you.
But he's had more experiences than us in that way.
Yeah, but still, it's, I think when you become a bit older and you can rationalize a bit and take yourself out of it, he just answered honestly in the moment. I personally believe a slightly older player would have been like, I'm focused on the team, blah, blah, blah. But I don't really care if he's frustrated. Like, good on him. Like, be frustrated.
To be honest, at the same time, I don't care either. If you want to sulk about being frustrated, sulk on the bench then and help us on the bench. But
yeah, like we've had plenty of players. Like we've had world class players for years and years.
11 for Tuchel either, that's for sure.
Yeah, like it's simple. Like we've had teams with Anelka and Drogba and Torres and Deco, Lampard, Ballack. Like we've had all these players, and sometimes some of them have to sit on the bench. You know what I mean? Like sometimes Kovacic has to sit on the bench. Sometimes Kante has to sit on the bench. It's all intelligently designed. With
Reece James didn't start either of the Champions League semi-finals after the season he's had.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So it's not really that deep.
And
it's really not
didn't start last week, who we signed for 80 million. So like, it's one of those. And like I said, I want to make this clear again to the chat. I understand and I like that he feels this way. I totally get it. That's how he should feel. That's what ambitious people and ambitious players should feel like. But he just shouldn't say it in an interview. He can make it clear to the staff. He can make it clear to the manager. And Tuchel will 100% understand that and not have a go at him for it. I guarantee it. Just You shouldn't say it in an interview. But hey, it's done and dusted. We're into the Champions League final. It's not going to ruin the mood. Obviously, ESPN are going to make a big deal of it. Maybe opposition fans are going to make a big deal of it. We just had to mention it because I only saw the quote and I was like, oh, this doesn't sound good. But then I saw the full interview. It isn't actually as bad in the actual interview as the quote makes it sound. I will say he doesn't say it in terms of like an angry way. He sounded super happy before that he was asked this question, and you could see in his head that he kind of like remembered how frustrated he was before the game, and then he kind of got into how brilliant things are again. It was kind of one of those. So the quotes definitely made it sound and look a little bit worse than the actual interviews are. But I suppose we are talking about him already. How bloody good was he when he came on? I mean, you hinted on it already. There's very few players you are more scared of to come on fresh after 60, 70 minutes into a game when you've already run your socks off than Christian Pulisic. He was ripping people apart. Whoever was in front of him, he was like, I'm going to dribble past you now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's exactly what he did number of times. And to be honest, a couple of times, his final ball could have been a tad better. One of the crosses was an easy catch for Courtois. The other cross was a really good one. And I think Kai or Mason, I couldn't actually see which one because they wear the same boots, similar haircut, similar hair color, similar, number as well. So I could not tell which one it actually was, even in the replay. But one of them almost got their foot on it. And then obviously at the end, I was like, no, don't like wait so long. Quick play, pass it. But he was perfectly, what's the best word I'm looking for here? Do you know what I mean? Like he waited long enough. He had the patience. Yeah, he had the patience for the passing lane to open up perfectly to Mount, for him to smack it home and make it 2-0. But he was absolutely phenomenal yesterday, and that's why I'm a bit sad that it was Kai Havertz. That's why I was a bit sad when I saw that interview. I was like, no, just hype yourself. I mean, I understand you're frustrated, but you were still huge in taking us to the Champions League final. Don't be upset about not starting. Be happy how good you were, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sure he won't remember that interview if and when that he wins the Champions League with Chelsea. I'm sure it'll be fine. But do you know what was really striking to me about the game? And it wasn't just the dramatic golfing quality, which I didn't quite expect. I was very nervous about Ramos playing. I say it a lot. I personally believe he's a top 3 centre back of all time.
Of all time?
Yeah, of all time. Yeah.
That's a big call.
5 Champions Leagues, 2 Euros, a World Cup. I mean, come on now. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, by that logic, Zidane's one of the best managers of all time.
I mean, yeah, but that's a fair claim. But then 3 Champions Leagues. But also Ramos, over 100 goals as a centre-back? Like, he's just a monster. That's just my opinion anyway.
I get that. It's just when someone talks about centre-backs, I immediately think of like Maldini and Cannavaro, Nesta and Desai and...
I personally think Ramos is better than all of those, bar Maldini.
But
I honestly do. I just think people don't like
them play out of like any of them. And the same goes.
But yeah, I've watched like enough clips to be able to like. This is not like a flippant judgment. I've watched like enough to understand what I'm trying to say, and I really do believe that Ramos has changed the way that we view defenders and the way that he's been able to play is phenomenal. So I was nervous about him playing. But what struck me most, right, about the game, and it wasn't specifically about what's happening on the pitch, was did you see the golfing quality with the 2 teams' benches? I could not believe how poor Real Madrid's bench was. Mate, I looked at the bench like, is that Real Madrid's bench? Really? Like, and then you look at Chelsea's, and Chelsea's is kind of what you'd imagine would be on Real Madrid's bench, right?
Diaz, Giroud, Tammy Abraham. You can think of Tammy whatever you want, but still.
Yeah, Reece as well, like all these players.
James, yeah, exactly. Crazy, honestly. I mean, bloody Kepa, the most expensive goalkeeper in the world, sits on the bench for him.
Yeah, Callum as well. Like, there's crazy talent on the bench, and it just, it speaks of a lot of things. It's, big Premier League money, but actually this is cultivated players. There's youth academy players on that bench. There's youth academy players on the starting 11, and it's just wonderful to see Chelsea being that team that's, it's continually taking steps forward, both in the men's team and the women's team. Let's not forget the women beat Bayern Munich 5-3 on aggregate, overall 4-1 at Kingsmeadow as well. And, talking about how big these Champions Leagues are for certain players, I don't think there's any player this means more to than Frank Kirby. She didn't think she was going to be able to play again she was ill for a long time.
People don't know the story about her. She was out for so long, and for her to have the season she's having, it's honestly remarkable.
Oh, it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, and it's a good feeling factor. It's almost like I'm viewing it as though it's a gift from the club to fans, from the players to fans. You know, we've all been through a lot, and collectively now we can get behind both teams for what is a really exciting end to the season. We could possibly finish third. We could finish with an FA Cup. Could finish with a Champions League. I don't know which one I'd want the most. Obviously a Champions League, and then the next two. Who cares if you're in the Champions League? Do you know what I mean? It's and as well, I do think it's important to remember that just because we're successful on the pitch, like it was only a few weeks ago, the board members were willing to put us in a dodgy situation. So, you know, let's still kind of remember that in this, and the fact that, you know, we're backing the players, the management, but there are still a couple people that I'm certainly keeping my eye on and remembering what they've said and what they've done over the last few months, because it's very easy in football to forget due to success, and I don't really want to do that. But, you know, again, I don't really want to litter what is a very positive stream with, you know, something like that. It's
tough, and I want to say one thing about that, because I think it's a difficult thing to almost have an opinion on whether we should be angry at these board members or not, because we don't actually know how we got to the situation. Because if a situation could have been in a way that we were told, all right, this is happening, are you in or are you not? And this was kind of like half an hour time decision that you had to make. By that point, it's an equally as bad decision as if a manager picks the wrong starting 11. Are we then going to scrutinize a manager for the rest of his career? Because if it's a short time decision, and again, but if it's a long time decision that they thought about and they're like, yeah, okay, we think this is a good idea. There might be backlash, but we think this is a good idea. If it's that way, then you're 100% correct. But I think there is also a scenario in which they're like, hey, people make mistakes. People messed up. People are trying, even though I think it's a little bit of a PR move and cover up the whole, including 3 supporters in the whole board meetings now. It's still a good thing, you know, if those 3 people are the right people, even if it's a PR move, those can still have a positive impact, if you get what I mean. All right, Amit, calm down.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I know him as well, so it's not like it's just a random dude.
That's why he's got the confidence to put that comment out.
Probably. But yeah, the other day he was turning up with a troll account. Now he's at least shown his real name.
This guy. I mean, do you know what? We'll leave the ESL stuff because we'll focus on the positives. Like,
yeah,
I felt the lineup was bang on. Really, really impressed. I thought Jorginho, when he made that mistake early on, I was really frustrated because I was thinking, mate, not now, not now, because I'm much more critical of him than you are. Yeah. But I know on his day he's a world-class player, and I was like, please not now. Because if there's one thing that the fan base doesn't need, it's a Jorginho disaster class and everything just splits. We don't need it. And so the way he recovered, I thought he was absolutely outstanding for the rest of the game. You know, I said on stream as well that the best games Jorginho has is when you don't notice him all the time, because he's just quietly working in the shadows, doing his job, putting up fabulous numbers. He was playing some great passes, making really important
tackles. Chance, which was probably, even including Mount's goal, was probably our biggest chance in the second half, was Jorginho's wonderful over-the-top ball.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I say every time we talk about him. Please, Jorginho, if you watch this, do it more. Play those long passes because you got it. You know, Kai should have actually chipped the keeper there, I think. But
yeah, if he didn't chip him first half and it didn't work, I guarantee he would have done in that moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of those. But the Jorginho one, I agree with you. That frustrated me as well. Not the tackle, not so much, because I actually think it was good that he took the yellow, because I trust him well enough to not get sent off in the end.
Simmer, yeah.
But he knows, he knew he had to take the guy down there. Of course, he tried to get the ball, but even if he didn't, he had to take him down. He could not allow them to hit us on the break.
It was just so early. It was so early, and I was thinking, I love the guy, but if you have to throw Billy Gilmore against Cruz, Casemiro and Modric in a Champions League semi-final second leg where you have to really win, that's a lot to put on a young guy like that. So Jorginho, stepped up, leveled up, outstanding game. I have my own opinions about him wearing a captain's armband, but he done excellently when he had that on as well. Chilwell, fabulous. That's my guy right there. AC as well. I thought Christensen was really good. As all the backline were, Rudiger's stepped up every single Champions League game. Thiago Silva we can praise, but it's Thiago Silva, so that's why he's in the team. Yeah, he's in the team for these games. And, I made an apology on the podcast that I do with Daniel, obviously, and I'll make it here that, and I've done it on Twitter, actually, I've made a big case for signing Donnarumma because I believe that a player so young and so experienced on a free, I know it's big wages, would have that position set at Chelsea for the next 5 to 10 years. But I'm not convinced, well, I wasn't convinced necessarily that Mendy is or was a world-class goalkeeper. I just think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. But as we progress each game through the season, I'm slowly thinking that maybe Mendy might be a world-class goalkeeper and we've stumbled across an absolute diamond here. And keepers' careers go on.
Kante and Mahrez for Leicester a little bit, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just these guys, like they just come out of sort of nowhere. And I know Renner a decent side, and he put up some decent statistics, but he's actually utterly unbelievable, and he's having one of the best seasons in Europe for any keeper. Do you know what I mean? He's top 5 in Europe this season.
I think already before we play the final, he's broken the all-time record of clean sheets in the Champions League season.
Well, we've got the most clean sheets in Europe, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It's bonkers. I think we've got 30 or something across all competitions. Same as Man City, I think. We're on the same.
Exactly. And look at the week he's had as well. Like, this week wasn't a case of, he never had to do anything. Almost like last week against Madrid, where he conceded 1 goal and didn't have to make an actual save, right? And there's nothing he could do about the goal. But Fulham, 3 unbelievable saves. Yesterday, 2 very good. One of them absolutely outstanding. And the tip over the bar from the header as well. A brilliant save. Like you say, what a man. And myself and Pice and Con as well discussed this last night with the player ratings as well already. What a story that man's had. And it's almost like with him, we have to almost view his age slightly differently because he just had his career a bit hampered. So it's almost like he started his career at like 23, 24. So like what we see a normal goalkeeper being at 24 is where he's at now. Do you know what I mean? Like we almost have to ignore the fact that he's 27 now or 28 because it's almost like his career didn't start until then. Yeah, you could say maybe that's why he wasn't as talented. Sometimes you're just a little bit less fortunate. I mean, there's a lot of times where, professionals talk about in their youth systems and setups, there was players significantly more talented than them. Some don't make it because they don't have the drive. Some don't make it because they get a bit unlucky, whether it's an injury at the wrong time, whether it's, I don't know, you having to do schoolwork in the one game where the scouts turn up. You never know. Like, things can go badly. Like, there's a good chance that there is many, many players that never ended up being footballers that are significantly better than a lot of the players we see every week in the Premier League. And for him to get here and it's just such a wonderful story. I so hope for him that he gets to lift that trophy, honestly. Like,
it'd be amazing. There's a lot of that's what I said this a lot. There's a lot of narrative in this Chelsea team and also in the Real Madrid team. You have Kante, who's never won a Champions League, who definitely deserves one. Aspi same, Mendy same, Thiago Silva same, Tuchel same. You had the returning hero of Hazard. You had the returning villain of Courtois. You had Real Madrid lording over with Perez and his whatever silly ideas about the ESL. There was so much to it, mate. You got Cover who's out injured, but obviously that's ex-Real Madrid who's at Chelsea. And it's a real... I saw this game as a passing of the torch. The old guard to the new guard. Fresh ideas, new management in comparison to either facilitating players or older style management. And yeah, it's beautiful to come out on top, isn't it? It's really good. And what I like is now I know that Tuchel today, all he's thinking about is Man City at the weekend. And then he's going to be thinking about the FA Cup final. He takes it one game at a time and the whole team buy into it.
Arsenal first, please.
Oh, have we got Arsenal in between?
Yeah, Arsenal next Wednesday.
Oh, mate.
Mad, isn't it? This schedule is ridiculous.
I'm nervous about that Arsenal game. I think that's the game I'm most nervous about.
Yeah, I see that. But I also think like that's because of the experiences we've made against Arsenal. I feel like now we have Tuchel. Yeah. Arsenal will be a completely different ball game. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we absolutely smacked them.
I really hope so. I hope so. I still, because I've always thought that Chelsea's chances of winning the Champions League were slim. and we're still not favourites. You know, it's not even a 50-50. I do believe that City are favourites, that a top 4 position is the priority. But when you get to a Champions League final, everything changes, right? It's all in. It's all in on the Champions League. Why not? But we've got to focus on the games at hand, focus on securing the league. It's unbelievably important to do the double over Leicester and to beat Arsenal. I don't mind what happens against City this weekend, you know, because we've done them in the FA Cup. It will probably, the narrative will work out. They'll probably beat us this weekend.
It will be mind games as well. Like, Tuchel will make sure he has different tactics for the final than he does for Saturday.
100%. And I think Pep will as well. But
yeah,
generally, and I don't say this to discredit Pep, but I do believe at this current moment, Pep's tactics are more consistent in terms of you can predict them slightly better than you can with Tuchel's. And that's purely because I think Guardiola's been doing his thing at the top of the game for the last 15 years. So you know sometimes at City, you know now it's going to be the false 9. You know roughly that it's probably going to be De Bruyne, probably going to be Foden, probably going to be Mahrez. You know who the backline's going to be.
The big question is like Zinchenko or Cancelo, really.
Exactly. So Chelsea have a little bit, you know, we've got cards up our sleeve, whereas City have been playing this way for a long time and it's worked for them.
And that's partly the crazy thing, to take it back to us. We have more than 11 informed players right now. How ridiculous is that to think and talk about? Like, when was that the last time that Chelsea had this scenario? Like, even
honestly,
when we
I reckon
with like Hazard and Jago, and there were still players who were like, you know, and the bench was kind of like, you know. Now we're like, what the hell? Go on,
that's what I said. I said this just now. I think the last time we've been this good is when we had Ancelotti, about 2008, 2009. When we had the sort of Ballack, Lampard, those boys just flawless. It's a different way, but just being almost unbeatable.
It's weird because when we last had a moment where we were this good, probably in Conte's first season, we had at the wrong part of the season. Because if we were as good as we were under Conte from October to January, if we did that instead from February to May, we might have done special things. But because we had that incredible spell earlier in the season, do you know what I mean? So, like, who knows how long we can keep this type of level up. But in terms of this important part of the season, you're right. We've never been this good in February to May, probably since the Ancelotti days. Yeah,
it's wild, mate. It's wild. And
except finishing, obviously, because back then we scored like 7 goals every week.
I said on the podcast as well, like, it's slightly unnerving, isn't it? It's like, I feel sometimes like I'm in a horror film and the jump scare hasn't happened, but it's building up.
Yes,
yes. But how long is it building up? Because as a Chelsea fan for a long time, I know that at a certain point, things do explode. There's a landmine under someone's feet and it is going to go off at some point. But I just hope it goes off in pre-season. And then we come back and the season's all good, or it doesn't happen at all and it's fine. Do you know what I mean? But
I get it. And to be honest, just that, obviously it's crazy to think because we had the likes of Terry, Lampard, Drogba, Ashley Cole, Petr Cech, Michael Essien, Makelele, Ballack, all in the same era, that these lot could even possibly be better. I'm not sure they can because, especially defensively, Thiago Silva is too old to really get into that kind of vibes. I'm not sure if Christensen and Rudiger will be able to sustain the level of performance like this over a decade, which is what these other players did. Because they're brilliant right now, and I'm not taking a single thing away from them. But what makes you the special type of player, which is why at Lampard, the Drogba, at Terry, the Messis, the Ronaldos, why they are as highly regarded as they are, it's because they didn't do it for 1 season, not for 2 seasons, like an Alisson, like a Mane, like a Salah. They did it for 10 years, for 15 years. You know, Messi and Ronaldo are nearing this, doing this for bloody 20 years. It's the most ridiculous thing. And even that's why I don't understand why people say Maradona is better than Messi. I'm like, the man had like a 6-year career. I don't understand. Like,
and he was pumped full of
well, I suppose everyone was at the time. I don't really hold it against Lance Armstrong that he was doping for the Tour de France, because I was like, he was just the only one that got caught. Doesn't mean he was the only one doping. So I'm like, give him his titles in my book.
I feel you. Yeah, I get that. Maradona is not better than Messi. That's a massive L.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, ability-wise, he might have been, but in terms of career, I don't like. I can't judge whether he was. I was not old enough to.
Wonderful footballer. Wonderful footballer. But Messi is like,
a different time as well. A different time of the world, really. And someone just asked how long the stream has been going. Flyers, pick up yourself, bro. We've been going for just about 46 minutes. Obviously, that includes a 2-minute, countdown. So about 45 minutes. And we also have 300 people watching. So big up, everyone. We are actually just over 300 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers. So if it so happens that most of you, or all of you, are actually new here, we could literally hit 10K right now. It's very unlikely that that's the case, but the more of you that are new and are not subscribed yet, go down below, hit that big ass red subscribe button, turn it into a boring old grey, but boring means more subscribers for me, which is what we all want. So do that and hit the like button as well. We definitely don't have anywhere near enough considering we have 300 people watching. We have
come on.
Only 83 likes. Come on, guys. Let's get to 150 right now. Go down below, hit the like button, turn it from a boring old grey to a lovely blue. Because, blue literally is the colour. Even any shade of blue. Because it's Chelsea against Man City in the Champions League final. So it doesn't matter who you support. Blue is kind of like what you have to make it right now. So hit the like button. And, of course, if you want to support the channel, do use the super chat function. You don't have to. But if you want us to discuss whatever you have to say, because, we have a lot to get through. So do use that if you fancy it. But...
and also, there's a link in the description to download the OneFootball app. Please make sure you do that because it is a banging app. Just make sure you do it because it is actually good. And I use it already, but I uninstalled it and downloaded it through that link because I'm a real one. So make sure you do the same thing because it's good and it's, Twitter sucks sometimes, so you can get things a bit better on over there. And it supports the channel as well.
I can already see Jay's email tomorrow, like getting this OneFootball proposition tomorrow. They're big fans of Jay now here.
Yeah, do it, man. Do it.
Exactly. We need to discuss a few other players because I want to discuss a few other players individually before we get to Tuchel, which is why I titled it the way I did, right? We need to talk about N'Golo Kante. You know that I've had my criticisms of him in terms of finding the third passing in particular. And I said this, made this joke 5 times already at this point, but the man literally played yesterday as if he was doing passing drills all week long. How he can go from how he played against Madrid, amazing until the final third, to go to yesterday, amazing, including the final third, it's an unbelievable improvement. It's not to underestimate how drastically different he was last week to this week in terms of how important that was because he was involved in both goals. If Kante plays poor, bad final third passes again like he did last week, we might not score a goal. Obviously we might still go through at 0-0, sure, but still, it could be drastically different. So the fact that he managed to pull that off yesterday, the fact that he was man of the match in both Champions League final legs, including one of the Champions League quarterfinal legs, and I'm pretty sure one of the Champions League round of 16 legs as well, is unbelievable. It's honestly unbelievable. What man.
He's cometh the hour, cometh the man, mate. He's flawless. And, I see comments 5-star. I see the comment there. It's not when we praise Kante, it's not as though we're doing it over praising Jorginho. We actually praised Jorginho a lot earlier. But Kante he's one of those players that the bigger the game, the better he plays. And that's why I like Mason as well. I think Mason does the same thing. People may disagree, but I personally think that's what he does. The bigger the game, I think he steps up consistently. And in fairness, Christian does it also. So, but Kante, man, it's like I can't believe sometimes that he plays for this club and that he's not left. I honestly I can't believe it. He is so good. When you see a midfield like Kroos, Modric, and Casemiro, not know how to. They have no idea how to deal with a player like that because he's unconventional. He's not a DM. He's not a central mid. He's not an attacking midfielder. He's just Kante.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And when you have a player like that you've got an unconventional player partnered with an unconventional manager in a team that's fluid and is able to change up the way it plays all the time, it's an absolute nightmare for teams to deal with. And what I love about Kante is the fact that you see when he's defending and the attacker is running towards the goal, Kante's running behind them and then sort of nicks the ball in. And it just must be so frustrating to have to deal with this guy because I don't know about you, Laurenz, but I played football for years and years and you always get told, I don't know how it is in different countries, but in UK, it's like you win the second balls. You're always there. You win the second ball. You don't lose the second ball. Every single second ball, just Kante he's just there every time. And it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. I can't quite work him out still. I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, that's true. Kante loves the second ball. And to be honest, I think to bring it back to the comment earlier, I think Jorginho does as well. That's why I think they work so well together. them two love winning the second ball. Jorginho looks like he's gonna literally be murdered because he's so small physically every time he wins a second ball. Well, somehow he ends up with the ball and plays a solid pass to keep possession. While Kante somehow wins the ball and goes on a mad run. And then yesterday played a brilliant ball at the end, usually plays not the greatest pass at the end, which is the frustrating thing. If I never saw Kante play these great decisive balls, I wouldn't be as frustrated at him when he doesn't. But because I know he can, it frustrates me more when he doesn't, if that makes sense. It's a tough one. And we have so many brilliant players. And just to the comment of Jester here a minute ago, where was it? We'll presumably both be wearing the home shirt. I would strongly presume. But we'll just be wearing white socks rather than blue socks rather than white socks as usual. But yeah, we'll touch on the whole Aston Villa stadium thing in a minute as well. Because I suppose enough on Kante, but we need to highlight, and obviously you touched on him earlier already, Timo Werner. I want to talk about him quickly as well. And, obviously, Jay, you weren't here all the time, but, Lewis is about to join us as well, which is brilliant. You weren't here all the time, but I've praised Werner very highly over the last 2 weeks.
Are you feeling all right? I know that's not normally what you do, mate.
No, exactly.
That's why I come for you on Twitter every time he scores.
No, exactly. And what really started this, and I know maybe it's not fair or whatever, but he did this almost like the Chelsea podcast, right, that they do on their YouTube channel with these two American guys, right? And he did this interview with them, and I just thought he came across so well that it gave me like this, I don't know, internal, like significantly improved liking of him. And then he also had like a good game against West Ham, I thought. But aside from the miss, he had a very good game. First half an hour, by far best player on the pitch, I thought. Scored a big goal as well, which is part of the reason why we're looking as good as we are right now for top four. And then obviously Madrid went badly, sure. But then he also did good against Fulham. And I praise it. I think, I don't want to start him in every game. I think there is oppositions where I don't see Werner as the most useful player to have on the pitch for us. But I always said against Madrid, you need to start Werner. You have to. Even if he doesn't score, no player in our team has as good of a low cross as Timo Werner does. The amount of precision and power the man gets on those. Left foot, all right. When someone came at me on Twitter yesterday saying, they're not anywhere near as good as Callum Hudson-Odoi. I'm like, yeah, Callum's right foot. But Callum doesn't even own the left foot. And Timo does it with the left and the right foot. The same amount of quality with these low crosses. They're unbelievable. And to be honest, we should have scored from one or two of those yesterday as well. And the amount of big goals those kind of low crosses set up. So big up to Timo Werner. Got his goal. For once, he didn't actually have a miss. All the others did. He didn't. So fair dues. And he set up one of those misses as well for Kante. So big up. And big up to Lewis as well, obviously. I hope you're well, bro. Obviously, we saw each other like an hour ago, but still, I hope you're well. Because you asked me how I was feeling over the last 12 hours. How have you been feeling over the last 12 hours? Come on. Let us give us an insight into the carefree Lewis G mind and heart when Chelsea qualified to a Champions League final.
I am tired. Just tired. Do you know how many streams I've literally just been bouncing around the entire day? And yeah, it still hasn't really hit that we are in a Champions League final. It is mad. And the way that we've been playing, I've already said this is different to 2012. 2012 was heart and just pure willpower driving us to the Champions League final. This one, we're just better. We were better than Atletico Madrid. We were better than Porto. We were better than Real Madrid. We deserve our spot in the Champions League final, regardless of what anybody wants to say. If there's any rival fans to say we fluked their way to the Champions League final, well, why did they fluke their way into the Champions League final? Why are we the ones that did it? Here's why: because we're good enough. Tuchel has implemented a system that is so defensively solid. Like, we are so hard to break down. In midfield, Jorginho and Kante complement each other so well over the last few games. I'm glad to see that midfield partnership is actually starting to blossom. I weren't necessarily too worried about Jorginho and Kante. It was Kante Kovacic that always worried me. I've always said two pressers. I don't really fuck with that in the sense of a midfield pivot. You have someone that sits and someone that's pressed. That's perfect. Jorginho and Kante, that works excellently. Azpilicueta, right wing back, stroke of genius, and it kept Eden Hazard quiet during the game. Even though, to be fair, as much as I hate to say it, wasn't that hard to do it. Like, Azpilicueta still did a great job of doing it regardless. So credit to him, because that was his role, and he executed it to perfection. Even if Hazard didn't threaten him as much as we expected him to. Going forward, Timo Werner, His runs were just ridiculous the entire game. He was always causing a problem for, I was going to say Bayern Munich, but that's how you know my head's gone. Real Madrid. Kai Havertz, he had the sore performance, and 5 years we're going to look back and say, hey, did you remember Kai Havertz's performance against Real Madrid in the second leg? One of the first great world-class performances we've seen from Kai Havertz in the Chelsea shirt. In terms of the way that he was bullying Ramos, bullying Kroos on the ball, his smart timing of runs, his strength that has massively improved this season as well. Like, he is firing on all aspects. And the only thing I can say with Havertz is just unlucky he didn't score. Like, credit for Werner for the 2-yard screamer, but if we're going to tell me that Havertz lobbed Courtois for 1-0 at Stamford Bridge, that's legendary status already. We were so close to greatness with that. And the jarring thing is, he had another 2 points as well that he could have done it, but that's just Chelsea and our poor finishing, which is the one thing that does worry me for the final. But I don't want to really start worrying about the final because we're in it. I want to just enjoy the moment for now. But if I have to be pessimistic, lack of ability to be clinical might cost us. And that might be the difference on the biggest stage, but at least we're on the biggest stage.
City's so different. Phil Foden doesn't know how to score a goal to save his life. It's crazy.
I mean, if we're going based on
Nah, it is harsh. I know, I'm joking. But if we missed 2 big chances against City over those 2 legs, like big
I know,
chances.
But I expect Aguero to start the final. His
really?
biggest, bro.
I kind of do as well. I do.
You see how everything's set up, Jay? You see how everything's set up. Like, this is like the Drogba story, except
I know.
Yeah, but Pep doesn't play. Pep doesn't play like, wholesome story football here. Pep wants to win a final here, and then he doesn't start Aguero.
But Aguero will be motivated enough to win that final. It's just about when you use him, not how regularly you use him. He could not play another game for the rest of the season and then just be put in for the final. And I expect a monster.
He might come on and do something.
And he loves Chelsea as well. He loves playing against. He scored against us more than any other top 6 side. Man has 2 hat-tricks against us. I don't remember the last player in the Premier League that scored 2 hat-tricks against us. Everything's just set up perfectly for an Aguero show stealer, and I hate to be the one that says it, but I hope we can break the story like we always do.
To combat it, though, it's not about breaking a story. It's just about which narrative you decide, because I totally agree with you that actually you look at it and it's set up for Aguero to win that Champions League he deserves. But, just to make the narrative more interesting, actually the person that's going to have to deal with him all game is Thiago Silva, who has not won a Champions League either and deserves to win it just as much as Aguero does. And that's going to be an interesting... Yeah, maybe. And that's going to be the narrative in itself. Do you know what I mean? And you get to see the old guard clashing at the back, the new boys at the front. Kai slick, Mason's world class. Phil Foden is also world class. De Bruyne probably deserves to win a Champions League due to his quality. Same as Kante, same as Aspi. So much narrative, there's so much going on, and 2 amazing managers. It's going to be a fun game. I kind of hope it's fun to watch rather than it being pure tactics, but I reckon it probably will be tactics. Yeah, man, I want to watch an entertaining game because it's I think I was going to say it's about Werner. I was going to say it's about Werner, bro. Like, football's about collecting moments more than anything else. When that what I do, what you do, what Lewis does, we have to analyze the game and break it down and create content and talk to people. But realistically, we'll look back on football, and football is about a collection of moments that mean something to you or the team, right? So Timo Werner, he's got an assist in the FA Cup semi-final, a goal in the Champions League semi-final. He's collecting a few moments. And actually, it's about which player is going to step up to claim these moments in the big games, and how are we going to look back and remember it. I'm hoping it's Mason Mount, personally. I think for Cobham, for Chelsea, that would be wonderful. Aguero's obviously got a shout, and I like the narrative. I want it to be a game where I'm sat on the edge of my seat, where I'm nervous, where I don't know what I'm going to do, because if it comes your way, that's the whole point about... That's the moment you collect and you remember it as a community, as an individual, with your friends, with your family. And that's kind of why I want it to be an exciting game. I'd like it to be something like 3-2. Do you know what I mean? But I reckon it'll be 1-0.
Yeah. It probably will be. For me, it's one of those, I'll be so nervous and tense. Tense is the better word than nervous. I won't even clock how fun it is, because it's one of those where, like, if you're super invested in a game, I feel like even the deadest game is interesting, if that makes sense. It's like, my best example is still going back to F1. I'm a Ferrari fan. We had the worst season in 40 years. I had a great time watching, can we come 10th? Do you know what I mean? Like, it was equally as exciting as it was fighting for a win because I was like, can we do it? Can we? It's like the same thing almost. But I quickly want to get back to something that Lewis almost touched on and started on. Speaking about Kai Havertz, because like you said, that performance yesterday was unbelievable. Like, and I've made this reference a few times already. And I think Matisse initially tweeted it and kind of sparked the thought in my head. The man managed to be Didier Drogba and Eden Hazard both in the same person in the space of 60 seconds. Like, how he nutmegged Toni Kroos there in the middle of the park with that second touch, unbelievable. Or was it first touch? And then that header, I know he only hit the bar, didn't just squeeze it in. But that leap, that power on the header, that kind of direction, not somewhere, right for the top corner, the man was aiming. And that's exactly where the ball was heading until it hit the bar. What a performance. And shame that he didn't get his finish right, sadly, both times, but on both occasions. But what a performance, what did it take? 5, 6, 7 minutes to clatter into Nacho Fernandes? The man was heard screaming all the way up to Wembley. That's how loud he was screaming, trying to get him sent off and booked. I mean, that's what Madrid were doing all night. Can I have a go at them? No, that's just what you learn in Spain. So fair dues, I suppose. But I mean, Aspie does the same thing, really. Aspie does the same thing every time he gets on. He's all right, go on now. He's not that deep. But Kai Havertz was very, very, very special there. I know I was talking about Timo initially, Jay, but you already spoke about him. So if you have anything to add on Timo, of course do. But otherwise, what were your thoughts on Kai Havertz today? And did it, for you as well, feel like, for me and for Lewis seemingly as well, that was the Kai Havertz we were hyping a year ago and 10 months ago that we wanted to sign for 70, 80 million. That was the dude we wanted. And that was the dude that turned up yesterday. And I was very impressed by him because I was like, is he going to handle it physically and this and that? Jay said he thought he would. He wanted to start him, fair dues. I was slightly unsure, but he was special yesterday.
Kai is like a sculptor, in my opinion. And he's like a statue in the sense that over time, gradually, that piece of art becomes more and more perfect. And you can see the form that it's going to take already, but it's not quite there. But over the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, it's, as Lewis pointed out, I mean, he ran the show last night. He was unbelievable. He could have had a hat trick. The header was the header as well is that, step into being world class because he's not one-dimensional player. His first touch is utterly unbelievable. He's way quicker than people think. He stalks the defenders. He can win in the air. He has no problem muscling up against Ramos, which is wonderful to see. He's a good passer, delicate player. Yeah, man, you just love to see it. Like, I don't know, like how a player is both physical and delicate at the same time, and intricate, but also pacey. And he has a lot of, contradictions that work. Do you know what I mean? He's a really enigmatic player, and I like to watch him. And I believe he'll be a very effective Chelsea player going forward. And he ran the show a bit last night, as did everyone else. Yeah,
it was honestly special. And like all of them weren't, there was a lot of criticism about Aspie starting right wing back and all of that. And then he ends up doing back heel flicks into the run of Pulisic at the byline. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a performance as well. And, we can talk about Hazard being quiet. Hazard ran the most of any Real Madrid player yesterday, to be fair to him. I mean, he might have not have done much on the ball, but it's not like he wasn't bothered. I mean, after the game, he didn't seem bothered, and I thought it was hilarious how Real Madrid, and all of Spain lost their heads about it. I thought it was very entertaining. We have a super chat here by Mr. Jester saying, does anyone think Thiago might retire if we win the Champions League? Actually, I was going to get to that question. I do appreciate the super chat, but I saw your question a minute ago. Just didn't quite fit the conversation, but let's talk about it. Does anyone think Thiago Silva, obviously, might retire if we win the Champions League? Also, if all our attackers are on form, who is our starting 3? Score for Saturday's game, who starts? I'll go to you first, Lewis. Do you think Thiago Silva might retire if we win the Champions League? You're muted, bro.
Nah, I was going to say nah. If he wanted to, he would have already announced that he was planning on retiring. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he wanted to stay at Chelsea.
That's an L, bro. He's from Brazil.
Mate. What was it? Nah, I think he wanted to stay at Chelsea for at least 2 years. Just at least for 2 years. And then maybe a third and maybe retire then or go to another club. But I don't think he was here for 1 season, win the Champions League and retire because he would have said by now.
I agree. I think he wants to do that 2022 World Cup with Brazil. I think that's what he really wants to do. And that's in now, 15, 16 months time. I think if he's good enough next season, he will try to stay another year with us, and otherwise he'll try to find another good club in Europe to get his Brazil squad spot. I think that's the big one. And a lot of questions by Jester here. I appreciate it. I think it's good. If all of our attackers are on form, who is the starting 3, Jay? What do you think?
I think it's Mason, Kai, and I don't know, between Pulisic and Timo, isn't it? I think Mason and Kai are the two for me that are guarantees.
Yeah.
I don't want to write off Cho, but I think Pulisic and Werner offer a bit more and perhaps more preferred. For God's sake, I don't know, because I backed Werner all season, but I believe Pulisic is a better player. So I'll go Kai, Pulisic and Mount would be my 3 if everyone's on form.
I would agree, but I think it always slightly depends on the opponent. And for example, against the City, I think Werner and Mount are the 2 guarantees, and then it's between Kai and Pulisic for me.
See, I agree with you there. I'd be playing Werner in the Champions League final, but it's tough because I wanted to say Werner, but I think Pulisic is a better footballer than Werner.
Oh, I don't think anyone would disagree with you. I don't think even Werner would probably disagree with you there, to be totally honest with you. Lewis, for you, do you agree? What's our best front 3?
If everyone's fit.
Yeah.
I don't know, because for me, I have to take Pulisic as a starter and as a bench player into account, because both of them will offer different things.
Yeah.
Mount has to start, so he's in there. I think Havertz also has to start on this sort of form. Werner or Pulisic? I feel like I would just lean a bit more towards Pulisic, maybe.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's really tough between Pulisic and Werner because they're both going to offer different things, but I feel in terms of output, if both are on their peak, I'd go Christian Pulisic.
Yeah.
To be fair, someone made a fair point, Victor, in the comment here. Pulisic always plays well against City. That is true. So we are playing City in the final, and Pulisic loves a game against City. That is true. And the last part of Jester's question here, first of all, the score for Saturday's game against City, tough one to call, because it all depends on who we start, because City have the day extra in rest, which is big. Tuchel has drilled that into our brains that it makes a big difference whether you have 3 or 2 days rest in between.
Take into account Anthony Taylor's refereeing.
Oh, it's a no. It's a no.
Yeah, sorry, guys. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but here we are.
Now, I'll be totally honest with you. I'm saying 0-0.
I'm thinking... I don't want to say a score prediction for this one because I don't like what my answer's going to be. I think with City, I don't think we're going to be as motivated as Man City are going to be for this one, especially coming out of a Champions League Champions League semi-final second leg. I'll be real, if there was a banana slip, it'd probably be this one. I feel like this is the L, but if this is the L and we win in the Champions League final, so be it.
See, I think the banana skin is Arsenal.
See, I thought it was Arsenal. If you asked me any day before today, I would have said Arsenal was the banana slip. But I feel now, City, we slip up. Arsenal, we get ourselves back up to strength. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I hear that. Also, I think maybe it might be 1-1, like Chelsea.
It would almost scare me a little bit if we beat City again, because I'm like, can we beat these 3 times in a row? Like it would scare me for the final if we beat them in the FA Cup semis and beat them on Saturday. Like, I'm not sure whether I'd be happy with that in a sense. Obviously, for top 4, it'd be amazing. But I mean, if we want to win the Champions League final, top 4 doesn't matter, right? If we actually win that, who cares? But still, I don't know if obviously I want to beat them, but it would put a little edge of their whole, like, what's the word you guys used? Not agenda, how it's written, right? For the final
narrative.
That's the word. Yeah, thank you. It would put a different narrative on it if we beat them twice in the build-up. It's like, and also, to be honest, a draw has like a weird one because it's like we won one, the drew one, and then who's got what's left? I mean, so maybe we need to just take the L on Saturday. I don't know. It's a tough one. But Firestarter could have a fair point with one lead away. I do know that Jay needs to head off. Myself and Lewis will just discuss quickly the whole Champions League stadium thing for a minute or two and maybe praise another couple of players and Tuchel, of course. Jay, I appreciate you coming on. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we still have 300 people watching. Subscribe to the Chelsea Social, to which the link is down in the description right now or after the stream, whichever you prefer. But just subscribe to them. That's what matters. And
or
of course,
just go and check out the website. Do you know what I mean? Go and check out Show Social website. That's the main bit. That's where we get all of our views, our reads. We've got all the stuff.
I add the
most
website in
importantly,
the description after the stream as well.
Most importantly, if you are watching, go and download the OneFootball app. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video because Laurenz puts out good content, and it's just support the community because they're putting in work whilst you get to enjoy the result. Yeah, so make sure we do it. And yeah, bro, I'm happy to be on anytime. So thanks for asking me on. I'm sure I'll be on soon.
I appreciate it. Take care, man.
See you later, Lewis, brother. Bye, boys.
Take care, bro.
And like Jay just said, I mean, we have 300 people watching, and we are literally 300 subscribers away from 10K. So if it so happens that you guys are all not subscribed yet, we can literally hit that right now. So go down below, subscribe right now if you haven't already. Let's get there. The sooner we get there, the better it is, the sicker it is, honestly. Lewis, obviously, I know you spoke about it on your channel, but that was literally just when I left, I think. Do you pay it any thought, any belief that the whole Champions League final could be relocated?
I wish. I don't think it'll happen. You think UEFA cares about us as fans enough to actually move everything? Like you said it perfectly when talking about the economical issues that would have for Turkey as well. That's a factor we hadn't even spoken about. I'm looking at it from a fan's perspective. I don't see UEFA caring about us. You think they even have the energy to even say they're moving it? No.
Also, Wembley is not an option because the very same day the playoff final takes place.
As what?
The playoff final of the championship is on the 29th of May, same day as the Champions League final. So Wembley is not even an option unless they move the playoff final.
Get rid. I wish.
I mean, sure, but they always say it's the most expensive game in all of football. There's more money in that game than there is in the Champions League final.
Oh yeah, but it wouldn't be Wembley; it'd be Villa Park.
No, but obviously people are talking about Wembley. People want it at Wembley, and then just Villa turned up and saying,
but Wembley, that's just straight up unfeasible. Then that's not going to work out. But there could be other options. I mean, you could have it at Old Trafford, I guess. You could have it at imagine the Champions League final at White Hart Lane. I'd rather just Istanbul, to be honest.
Could do Newcastle.
No.
Everything will be over by then. Imagine the night out after.
Please. No. The chance for us to say we won the Champions League at White Hart Lane. Yeah, no. I want it. I'm actually going to run with that now. Or even the Emirates. That would just be glorious.
I think Newcastle would be sick. Imagine a night out after, not paying London prices.
Clubs will still be closed, though.
Will they? Are they not open by then?
At mid-June.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
It doesn't need to be a club. You can just, if you drink enough, you'll have the same amount of fun in a pub anyway. So, who cares?
I wish, man, but I don't think they're moving it anyway. There's going to be.
I think the only way I see them moving it, that will be very last minute. It's obviously Turkey are in a 3-week, I think it is 3-week lockdown right now that started last week. If they extend it by the end of those 3 weeks and to including the final, then maybe they will move it. Maybe, right? But I think until that point,
I don't see anything happening unless UEFA want to actually do some good PR and make themselves look like they actually care about the fans. Which even then, if they did it, I still wouldn't think they care enough about us.
Yeah, and just to comment on this comment by Marcel here. Now, what UEFA said is they're hoping for a 50% capacity in Turkey and 4,000 tickets to each set of fans. Obviously, those will be very difficult to get hold of. Maybe for someone like Lewis's season to get hold of, that's a chance. For anybody else in a normal way, there's no way. But that stadium holds 75,000 people. So 50,000 of that is 37.5 thousand. You obviously have corporate, which is 10K. So you have 27,000. You have 8,000 of that going to each fan. So then there is roughly 20,000, maybe 15,000 going to just the people in Turkey, I suppose, or local people that can just go in. And I suppose if you travel to Turkey and you get a hold of that ticket, maybe. I don't know. It will be something that will have to be looked at. I suppose Lewis and myself are in a fortunate position where what we do it from home. So even if we have to come home and quarantine, there's worse things in the world. I could do these streams from home, even if I have to quarantine.
You think I don't quarantine myself from life doing these streams? Fuck it.
That's my point. That's exactly it. You know what's the most frustrating thing? I'm not sure if you have the same thing, Lewis, but now that I'm starting to kind of head towards the end of the stream, we have the most viewers. Super frustrated. But don't go anywhere. We're going to keep going for a few minutes longer. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're nearing the 10K. So get subscribed. Lewis, the title of this stream, the title of this video and the thumbnail as well is Thomas Tuchel is currently becoming a Chelsea icon because Obviously, only if he wins the final. But it's a madness. Obviously, Di Matteo did special things back then, but Di Matteo is an icon. Like, Di Matteo will forever be remembered in this club's history, just as the players did. And you could argue, like, Di Matteo will be more remembered than, I don't know, Jose Mourinho and John Obi Mikel, Salomon Kalou. Di Matteo will always have that extra level, like on a level with Drogba and Lampard, and check for that final. That will be Di Matteo. And Tuchel is nearing that. And the fact that he joined us on, what was it, January 27th or something, and has put us into a position where we're in a Champions League final. We're in an FA Cup final as arguably the favourites because Leicester are slipping. Obviously, I don't know what players they might have back from injury by the time we play that, right? But because injuries have hampered them a bit over the last few weeks and months, which people haven't talking about anywhere near enough as with the injuries for Liverpool somehow. But anyway, Tuchel is doing special things. And if we get that done, honestly, give the man his contract. You know, I said this yesterday. Just take him to Roman's yacht in the summer. That's why I don't want him to sign a contract extension right now. Wait until after the season when he's on holiday. Roman gives him a call. Join me on the yacht. You know, have a little lovely trip to my yacht. You give him the contract there. You don't even put a wage there. You let him fill it out all himself. That's how much he wants to earn. And then he signs it on the dotted line. And then we're done. And it's... How crazy is what Thomas Tuchel has done for us this season, Lewis?
It's beyond words right now. It's literally the same thing as 2012, except I feel like our teams, I don't want to say more deserving, because the team from 2012 definitely deserved it. Literally just because they never, ever let their heads drop. But I feel it's, what's the right word to describe it? Because it's different. It's just more the case like there's less of a question of the quality of the team. When it was 2012, everyone was saying it was an old team. They didn't really expect them to be able to go all the way. This team, if anything, they'll probably say it's too young and say that maybe they're not experienced enough. But we have experience all over the park. It's only really in attack where we have a really young squad. Our midfield, it's just Gilmour that's young. In defense, nobody really. And same thing in goal. Like, I feel Tuchel. I'll be real. Tuchel's getting the respect that he deserves right now because no one can say any slander on his name. Everyone tried with West Brom, and we just showed that was just a blip. It didn't mean nothing. We weren't going to drop points afterwards. It all depends on what the end result is. I think Tuchel will get slandered if he doesn't win because they'll say, he's a bottle job. 2 finals in 2 years, lost both of them. I can already see that one running. But I don't think we should be worrying about that. We're already in the Champions League final. We're 90 minutes away from it, and we can win the Champions League. It's not favourites versus underdogs. It's 2 good teams against each other. You can't really tell where it's going to go. You can't tell who's the better team. I can't tell you who's the better side. I can be confident in my team, but that's it. I believe we can beat Man City. Man City can also believe they can beat us, and they have every reason to think that too.
It's literally a definition of a 50-50 game, isn't it?
Literally, and that's why I'm looking forward to it, and also why I'm just like, because you can't predict anything with this one. We could go there, batter City. City could go out there and batter us. Like, I don't know what to expect out of it. I just wish I could be there, really and truly, because this has been an amazing season for us as fans, and this would have been a roller coaster to have watched in ground.
Oh, it would have been. I think, was it Joe Cole that said it on the BT coverage last night when he said, yesterday, it might actually have been a blessing that there was no fans. Because if we missed these chances that we missed yesterday, the rumbling in the crowd could have made the players even more nervous. And I think that could have backfired a little bit.
I know, but I feel like there'd be fans who would be annoyed with the finishing, but from what you'd hear in terms of chants, like people would still just be pushing the team on because you're 20 minutes from a final at that point. I ain't going to start bitching. I'll be like, oh, fucking hell, Mount. You could have put that into the back of the net. But then you're still going to just keep chanting for them because you're not going to let that mood set into the players either because then you're just committing suicide. Yeah, no,
I agree. It's just I'm saying I think Joe Cole maybe had a point. And hey, he was a player. He would know, I suppose. It's a tough one. And because of what you said in terms of that we deserve to be here and maybe kind of fluked it a little bit in 2012, I think what we're doing right now is almost doing right of 2005, 2006, 2007 times, even 2009. I think if we win it this year, I think it's almost doing right by then because the way we are right now, it's almost we deserve it roughly as much as we did back then. Maybe back then we deserved it even more. And we didn't make it for various reasons. But 2005, 2006 Chelsea, that's when we should have been in the Champions League final. That's when we should have won the Champions League. Like, the fact that Jose doesn't have a Champions League title with us is crazy. It's criminal by the referees and by Luis Garcia's ghost goal and all sorts of different crazy things that happened, right? And obviously, let's not even talk about Barcelona, because we would have smacked Manchester United a new one in 2009. I guarantee it. So I think we're kind of doing right by that right now. And if Tuchel can get it done, what a hero. I don't really care how long he stays in the end. You know, I've accepted that at Chelsea it's not that simple, and you don't just get to stay for 5 years or 10 years. But if you get us a Champions League trophy before you leave in 2 years' time, hey, you're a hero, you're a legend forever. And as with the players. And the crazy thing is, you touched on it earlier, those players had gone through so much in 2012 to get there. And it was kind of the end, right? Lampard left 2 seasons later, Drogba left there, and then obviously Terry still played a few years and won 2 more Premier League titles, but still, it was kind of the end of that era. Ashley Cole left fairly soon after. Petr Cech left fairly soon after. It was the end of it. The crazy thing is, if we actually get it done this year, it's only the start of this whole era. Like, obviously, Thiago Silva will leave eventually, and Aspie hasn't got that much left in him, and Kante is 30, and Jorginho is 29. But the rest of it, whether it's Kai, whether it's Mason, whether it's Reece James, whether it's, even Christensen, whether it's Mendy is only 28. Like, there's a lot to come from him. Rudiger is, 28, 29? Like, there's years in him left. Ben Chilwell, like Kovacic is only 26. There's so many players that we could go for so long. It's honestly, it's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's the thing. We're in the middle of creating a dynasty, and to do that and to have the Champions League in night 1, as well as season 1, I mean, it's hard to figure out what we could do next after that. Like, we could be looking at multiple league titles, multiple Champions Leagues. I'm getting really ahead of myself, but we have a young squad capable of going far in the next 5 or 6 years, and sky is the limit. Like, we looked at Real Madrid's dynasty. They won 4 Champions Leagues in 5 years. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but take it a year at a time. And if in year 1 we're winning the Champions League and the FA Cup, you have no reason not to think of more in the second season.
I said it on Twitter. You and me, we both saw the stats under Thomas Tuchel. Give us a clinical finisher, and we're winning the quadruple.
And we're done. The league is done.
It's all done. It's all done. You might not even turn up at this point. Like, you might as well have done a Super League, given us the Champions League straight away.
We're now making the most chances in the league, and that's what I was worried about in terms of signing Erling Haaland. Now, if we're going to keep making these chances, and I still want us to get a creative winger too, but if we are going to keep churning out these sorts of chances, maybe Haaland isn't the worst option for us.
Yeah, maybe isn't. I mean, it all depends on money and depends on, can we actually get Lukaku? Does he want to leave enough? Does Inter need to sell enough? All of that kind of stuff. Obviously, Shardlight, he's picking up his own team. Fair dues, we would all do the same thing. So he's usually very, very respectful on here. So I appreciate it a lot. And of course, he'd be crazy if he wasn't back in his own team, in all honesty. Full strength Liverpool are amazing. We'll see about that. We'll see about when they're back to full strength, whether they're still that amazing. Because I said this for years. Klopp football ruins you. And after 3-4 seasons, it ruined them. And that's what happened. And this isn't necessarily having a go at Klopp, but this was always going to happen. It was an inevitability that this type of thing would happen because Liverpool didn't spend enough money on having a bigger squad. They needed a bigger squad to play Tuchel football, Klopp football consistently. It's just like that. There's nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I think, Lewis, we're going to leave it here in just a second. One last thing I want from you, and that's wanting to know who was your man of the match. And if it was Kante, who was your second man of the match? Just to make it a bit more interesting.
Yeah, it was N'Golo, so I'm gonna go for so many options. It's Kai Havertz or Mendy for me. If it's not him,
yeah.
Like, the Kai Havertz was absolutely ridiculous, but Mendy saved us in the first half. Like, it could have been 2-1 if it weren't for him at the start. I probably pushed for Kai Havertz.
I think you make a good point.
I've been saying that for Jesters. I've been saying that since Tuchel joined, because the teams that we've been playing and the way that we play. Back three isn't a defensive formation; it just depends on the manager. Tuchel can play an attacking back three. with Hudson-Odoi at right wing back, Alonso at left wing back. He showed in the early games, like, what was it? Burnley, Newcastle. Like with Kante,
look at the game against Palace, bro. We annihilated them.
Exactly. Like with Tuchel, we press in a 3-4-3, which is a difference. Kante, we sat deep, let them come to us, and then burst through them with like a ridiculous amount of stamina, pace, and a crazy tempo to the game as well that other teams couldn't handle because we were just playing one game a week. This one, it's a lot more attacking and can be defensive as well, which is the difference between Kante and Tuchel. He can switch things up a lot more. Kante didn't really have much of a plan B.
And give Tuchel a pre-season, he will not just have a plan B, he will have a plan all the way to F, because we know he's going to have a 4-2-4 ready. We know he's going to have a 4-3-3 ready. We know he's going to have a 4-2-3-1 maybe ready. Yeah, exactly. He will have it all ready, 100%. That's the only reason why we've always played the same formation. I'm sure Tuchel every now and again, for example, against Fulham, I mean, he switched it up against Fulham anyway, and we played more of a 3-1-4-2 rather than the 3-4-3 like we usually do, right? So he switched up a little bit, but I'm sure once we have time to have a few kind of formations down and under, ready to go whenever we need them, which a preseason will give us, we will switch it up every now and again. I mean, we know it. That's what we learned when we signed him. You remember, Lewis, the way we spoke about it, like Tuchel used 6 different formations in the same game when he was at Mainz in his first managerial spot. He even had similar at Dortmund once or twice. And even at PSG, he used various different formations in the same game. That will happen to us as well. Like, remember when he joined us and we was all, who knows what formation he's going to use next game? And then every time he used 3 at the back and 3-4-3, and we was all like, okay, same thing. Okay, same thing. But next season, it will actually become that thing of where we're not sure what formation he's going to play. I mean, already now, the man manages to stick to the same formation and still surprise us every week with the lineup. How do you even do that if you play the same formation every time? There's always a surprise. It's crazy.
Always, and that's why I'm just looking forward to next season, because this isn't even Tuchel in his final form, and this ain't Chelsea in his final form. I won't say we've slept our way to the Champions League final, but in terms of what's to come, we've slept our way to the Champions League final. And that just shows how exciting the future is. It's good to be back at the top with Chelsea again. Love to see it.
Exactly. But let's make sure, and I will say it that way, let's make sure we win at least one of the trophies. I want to win at least one of the finals. Hey, if we lose the Champions League final, I'd be gutted. But fucking shit happens, right? But we need to win against Leicester. Like, there's no two questions about it. And we need to secure top 4 before. So that there's a little bit less pressure for the Champions League final. Do you know what I mean? A little bit less. Have top 4 down. Obviously, I suppose the pressure worked in 2012. So maybe we need it. But it's a different type of squad, right? So win that FA Cup final. We've lost too many, considering how many we've been in anyway. Let's get that done. And let's lift that trophy. And let's go to Istanbul and see what happens there. Auto Villa Park, whichever. But ladies and gentlemen, we still have 350 people watching. I've said it numerous times, but I really, really want to hit 10K. I'm sorry I'm getting on your nerves, but the quicker we get there, I'll not bother you about it anymore. So, get subscribed right now. Let's hit those 10,000 subscribers as soon as we possibly can. Smash the like button. I'm sure we don't have anywhere near enough considering we have 350 people watching. Well, to be honest, we have nearly 200 likes, so fair dues. But let's get to 250 if we can. Why not? Go down below, smash the like button. If you want to become a member, there's a join button underneath if you're on desktop, or a link in the description if you're on your phone. But yeah, we're going to leave it here. Massively appreciate you coming on, Lewis. Of course, as always, check out Carefree Lewis G down in the description below. Subscribe to him, help him reach 25,000 subscribers or 23,000 or whatever his next target is. But 25, it's a lovely number. So get him there ASAP. Subscribe to me, subscribe to all of us, and check out the OneFootball app, to which the link is in the second line of the description. Download them. That'd be massively appreciated. And yeah, we're going to leave it here. Come on to Chelsea. Up to Chelsea. Thank you guys for watching. Upwards and onwards, and I'll see you next time.